folks, welcome to the second round of the Race Department Open Wheel Championship, coming to you from the Jacarepaguá circuit in Rio de Janeiro. I'm Jake Sanson, guiding you through this second race of the season, and it's certainly going to be an interesting contest. Qualifying is already underway. Just to give you a few facts and figures about the circuit, it is the Autódromo Internacional Nelson Piquet, named after the 3-time Formula 1 world champion, of course. They've held many major events on this particular race. The Rio de Janeiro Motorcycle Grand Prix was held here from 95 through to 2004. For 5 years in a row, the Champ Car Series also came here, as well as, of course, the Brazilian Grand Prix held in 1978, and then for 9 consecutive years across the 1980s, various different race drivers have won here, including Riccardo Patrese, Nelson Piquet, and Nigel Mansell. So several of the biggest names in motorsport have been successful over the course of the last 34 years that this place has been open. Here today, the Formula 3 cars are out on the circuit, and it looks like we've already got a fast time from Virok, who has got himself onto pole position for the time being, but Bram Hengeveld is right in there as well in his second place car for the moment, but you can bet he's going to be very close to the front of the grid, certainly hoping for that pole position, just as he did last time out at the Campo Grande circuit. So we're just going to see the completion of his lap. Hopefully it should be quite a clean one from Bram. He's got a very good reputation for qualifying. So while we've got this opportunity to have a look at the drivers who are in the race, let's take you through the driver list in Group 1. Car number 1 is Bram Hengeveld, who you can see on screen now. Connie Nasland is there as well in car 2. Number 3 is Alexandra Sen. 4 is Jari Venari. There we have number 5 on circuit, who just saw take pole position provisionally, Henry Virok. Number 6 is Kieran Swart. Number 7 is Thomas Cook. 8 is Luke Walsh, and I do believe Bram Hengeveld getting very close indeed to the tyre wall on the outside of the back straight there. Number 9 is Scott Webber. Then we have Jonas Lex in number 10. 11 is Reto Cristiani. 12 is Ramon Alonso. 13 is Matt Venn. 14 is Philip Antonio. And looking at the split times, Bram Hengeveld is only a couple of thousandths of a second off the pole position time set by Virok. So very good indeed from Bram, who's once again showing his hand very early on in the race meeting. Then we look to driver 15, Rico Arnold, as Nasland has just put himself into 3rd position. So very nice turn of speed there from Connie Nasland, who's already starting to go faster again. This time, last lap was good enough for 3rd place. Now he's actually setting pole position pace, 13 thousandths of a second up then on Henry Virok's time, and Bram Hengeveld is out there, of course, as well, setting the pace as well. So it could be very interesting to see the battle between these three for pole position. And as Nasland comes through, he lost a bit of time there on that split. He's now 0.4 of a second adrift. Such a tricky circuit, the Rio de Janeiro circuit, and obviously it's not as long as it used to be after the proposed planning of the Brazilian Olympics. Half the circuit, of course, demolished to make way for the grounds, and as Nasland comes through, 1:06.0, so he has improved his time, but he's still 0.4 of a second adrift. He's gone very deep into turn 1, but he's managed to collect it. So very nice indeed then, as Nasland gets his car back onto the back straight. We're looking to see how Levine has done. Well, Anthony Levine in car 20 has got himself 4th fastest so far. That's Walsh. So he's not going too badly either. He's only 1/10 of a second by the look of it adrift of the pole sitter Henry Virok. So Luke Walsh driving very well in this first qualifying session. So let's just see how Walsh's lap goes through the second split. What's his time like? 46.3, it's 0.7 of a second drift. So he's obviously lost time through the middle part of the lap. But let's take a look again at the rest of the field. I was going to go through the rest of the driver list. 15 was Rico Arnold. 16 was Bill Devery. 17 Dave Begley. 18 was Vinicius Ferreira. 19 Corrado Conti. 20 Anthony Levine, as we've already said. As we go on board with Henry Virok, who's looked like he's about to complete his lap. Around the last corner. And through on a 1:05 this should be. Not quite, 1:06.2, but of course still fastest by virtue of the fact that he has not been overtaken by another driver, and Henry has probably timed this absolutely to perfection coming out when he has, because Bram Hengeveld and Connie Nasland are both pushing, and Bram Hengeveld just going far too hard into the bottom hairpin. He's really pushing. He wants that pole position. He is giving it absolutely everything the car has, and a bit more besides. So very strong indeed there from Bram Hengeveld. Just a little bit too much pace. So now Nasland looking like he's building up to a pole position lap himself. He's just gone 46.0. Not bad. Still about half a second left to find. We said Anthony Levine was in car 20. The only other three cars are 21 Neil Harvey, 22 Ken Hunter, and 23 Kevin Cordes. Walsh coming through. That's enough for third place. 0.3 of a second off the pace of the pole sitter Henry Virock. So that's very strong from Luke Walsh. At this point in the session, we've only got 5 minutes left. So it's now or never for the drivers who want to put themselves into pole position. And these guys are certainly doing a good job of it at the moment. So there are some absences, of course, as we know, but we still have 23 cars, all pushing their way through to the front of the field in Group 1, all of them trying to do exactly the same thing as each other. And now Luke Walsh has upped the ante on this lap. He's got some pace, and he's now 1/10 of a second up. So now, if he can just stay consistent, this is exactly what Luke Walsh will be hoping for. Lost some ground though in the middle sector. It seems though that a lot of drivers are able to commit very strong into the first sector, and then it all seems to fall away in the middle section of the lap. It's quite a trend. So through comes Luke Walsh across the line. Is he going to improve his time? The answer is no. He stays third. So he might well have improved his lap time actually, but he hasn't improved his position. As Connie Nasland makes his way out onto the circuit now in the Swedish Slim Racing car. 4th position at the moment. And with 3.5 minutes left in the session, he really needs to make an impression now. That's Anthony Levine going through the first 2 corners. And he's got a very nice smooth line now, although just behind one of the other drivers, getting very out of shape on the exit of the corner and having to cope with the car, getting it back into position, a little bit like a rally driver as he comes through. So Anthony Levine on a good lap, and he's 0.4 of a second off in the first sector, so that's not too bad of time from Levine. Needs to build up his speed just a little bit more. Oh, he runs a little bit wide there though. Very close indeed for Anthony Levine, pushing hard once again, really starting to make an impact on the front of the grid. 0.5 second off the time by Henry Virock, who is still running in pole position for the moment. That then has yet to make his impression on the top 6. He's running 7th at the moment, and there's Webber pushing himself further forward as well. So just how hard is it going to be for anybody to get close enough to challenge for the victory? Well, it's certainly going to be a close and competitive race, but in particular it's going to be a very close qualifying session, as it always is. So through now Ben, as he goes through Lagoa down towards the box, really starting to get close to things. And Devery very nearly loses it going into the Vittoria turn, and he manages to collect it on the exit. So as Devery comes across the line, he's actually got himself into 12th position. So that just shows you how close it is for the positions. 1.7 seconds adrift, and he's 12th fastest. Arnold goes from 13th to 14th very quickly, so I think the man who's behind him on track has just moved up. It is Devery in 13th. He was 12th, so somebody has clearly got themselves into the top 10 very confidently as well. So there's Lex. Oh, and Conti's gone wide there. So, oh dear, that's definitely not gone well. Oh dear, it's all gone badly wrong on this particular lap for Conti. He's lost 5.8 seconds in all of that carnage. Just lost it on the outside. So we have Harvey and Begley still back in the pits. Hunter is there as well. Looks like they're either not going to get another lap in, or they're going to leave it right till the very last minute. So let's see who we have on track now. This is Vinicius Ferreira coming across in 21st position, and Bram Hengeveld on track once again for the Unicell Racing team. He wants this pole position, and got a sort of a Michael Schumacher streak to him. He likes to leave it till the very last minute. to grab the pole lap. And speaking of last minute, that's exactly what we're in now. 42 seconds left on the clock, and Heckerval really pushing hard, throwing the car through as he enters Vitoria. Brakes a little bit too late, but he manages to pick the pieces up from that one. So, through comes Bram Hengeveld. Starts the lap. Down one. A little bit deep, but he manages to collect it on the exit. That's crucial. He's managed to get a very nice exit out of that one. So now he's going to head down towards Seoul. To the right-hander, into the left-hander. Very careful how he picks his braking point, and he hangs it out wide to gain himself good speed for the right-hander. Through Gilao he goes, and up towards Moret. And through the left-hander, sweeping the car onto the inside. The time has run out, so it's literally across the line to decide who's going to get the pole position. And as he goes through Legal, it's very interesting to see if Bram Hengeveld's going to snatch that pole position from Henry Virok right at the death as he goes through box, pushing hard, really smooth on the exit this time though. This could be the pole position from Bram Hengeveld. Let's see. He comes across the line. We've not got any timings coming up for his lap, but it looks smooth and steady, and if it's as good as it looks, he could well have the pole across the line. He starts his lap now, so whether he's going to be allowed to finish it or not, I'm not entirely sure. But Bram Hengeveld gets his time lap underway, despite the fact there are 0 seconds on the clock. And I have a feeling Henry Virok is about to finish his qualifying lap, and I think he might just raise the bar a little bit more for Bram Hengeveld. In fact, no, he doesn't. He's still 0.079 away from his own best time, so Virok holds the pole, and Hengeveld is not able to complete his lap. So pole position goes to Hengeveld from Virok. Sen is in 3rd position. 4th position is going to be Luke Walsh. A very nice lap from him. 5th on the grid, Connie Nasland, after a fine charge for him. 6th on the starting grid is going to be Anthony Levine, showing his form. Then Webber for the Daredevils in 7th position on the starting grid, from Juha Venari in 8th place. 9th on the grid, Matt Venn for his own team, Matt Venn Motorsports, in front of Christiani in 10th position on the grid. Then Antonia lines up in 11th position, in front of Swartz in 12th place, also for the Team Daredevils. And it's Devery who lines up in 13th position on the starting grid, in front of Rico Arnold in 14th place for Break for Beer. And it's Lex, one of the independent drivers, in 15th position, in front of Conti for Mitsoku in 16th position on the grid. And Virok is the man who will lead them away, of course. We've already seen Alonso there for Red Mercury Racing will start 17th on the grid, in front of Harvey in 18th position. And we'll see in 19th Begley, who didn't seem to get a lap in towards the end, nor did Hunter in his cross course, so he'll start 20th. Then in 21st position we'll have Vinicius Ferreira for BR Automotive, and then we'll have Kevin Cordice in 22nd position on the grid, and lining up in 23rd position, there is no 23, so it looks like we've had a dropout from the original drivers list. Leading away, it is going to be Henry Virok. So it looks like a final 10 minutes of practice then after the first session. So a real opportunity for the drivers to dial in their final setups, and hopefully this could be the moment then we'll see the drivers really start to push for that pole position. An amazing circuit this place, some fantastic races on the Jacarepaguá circuit over the few years it was used as a Formula 1 venue, notably the last time it was ever used as a Formula 1 circuit in 1989, that thrilling Formula 1 encounter where Nigel Mansell grabbed a victory in a car he had absolutely no confidence in to finish the race. Not only did he finish, but he won in brilliant style in an experimental gearbox, and a Ferrari with an experimental gearbox, sorry. And it's moments like that that make heroes, and Nigel Mansell was certainly one of them. And we could see our very own race department open wheel championship hero here tonight. It's certainly going to be an entertaining one, this one. Several drivers are hoping to make their impressions on the championship. And after the first race of the series, of course, looking at the championship standings, well, it's reflective of the first race. Bram Hengeveld took the win last time out from Connie Nasland, and Jacarepaguá with Kieran Swart in 4th place. Thomas Cook ended up in 5th place ahead of Luke Walsh. So obviously things could end up being very different this time round, though, now that we're at a different track. Campo Grande is definitely different to Jacarepaguá, and the racing is going to be much more intense this time around. The first race was just a nice way to test the water, as it were, and hopefully now drivers will really start to dial in their setups for the race. Rather a shame this circuit has only been reduced down to half the length, obviously thanks to the developments with the Olympic Park. So things are a little bit different, of course, for the Jacarepaguá circuit nowadays, but it still hosts fantastic racing, and it's still long enough to evoke some of those memories. But of course it did have to be part of the circuit on the left side of the circuit was demolished, of course, for the 2007 Pan American Games, and it looks like it's basically going to be used as a training centre now for the Rio de Janeiro Summer Olympics, which are of course in 4 years' time. So as far as the Olympic athletes are concerned, they've got a nice new venue to train in, but for us race fans, we've got less of the Jacarepaguá circuit in order to do our racecraft from. We've got a bit of a technical problem with the broadcast picture, unfortunately, but we'll try and get that sorted as soon as we can. Certainly gives us a nice view of the circuit that the drivers are going to be racing on over the course of the Open Wheel Championship race. The cars, of course, Formula 3 machines, so the drivers are certainly learning their skills and learning their craft in the world of motorsport. So unfortunately we've got not a very static camera system at the moment. It's not quite the same team that you would normally get. My skills only extend to commentary at the moment. I will eventually develop the skills to use the camera functions as well myself, hopefully. But you will, of course, hopefully bear with us while we get things sorted out. Just looking at various different parts of the circuit as the drivers go around on their session. And in terms of the competition, the level of racing between the top 3 or 4 drivers in this championship really is to the highest possible standard. Looking at the drivers we have out on circuit, the battle really is going to be interesting, particularly between Bram Hengeveld, Condy Nasland, Henry Virok and Luke Walsh. Those 4 drivers are certainly going to be right at the pecking order at the front of the field, although they don't count out some of the drivers like Kieran Swart, Scott Webber and Anthony Levine. They will certainly be trying to make an impression as well, and all it takes is one driver to make the difference. It's certainly going to end up being an entertaining race at Jacarepaguá. Now we've got the cameras back into form again as well, riding on board. Try to see who that is that we're actually on board with. My apologies, I missed the graphic to see who it was. So it certainly gives you a nice driver's eye view of the circuit that the drivers are having to cope with. A lot of undulations, a lot of cambers and changes in the direction. I think we're heading towards the box corner, into the left-hander, and tightly towards behind the pits. We're heading into Vitoria. So up the inside, very nice. That's not something you want to do when you're not in racing. But through Victoria and a nice section out of the last corner. So an onboard lap then. Here we go into turn 1. A nice left-hander. Looks like one of the drivers has actually knocked some cones over on the exit of the pits, and that's put this particular driver off a little bit. He now manages to get himself onto the back straight and heading now towards the sweeping left-hander at Saul. Not the easiest of corners to get right at the very best of times. He picks his line nicely. Now we come from outside the car. So through Saul, a very long sweeping left-hander, and then into Gilao. Up towards the next part of the course. Moret, another sweeping left-hander, and then into Lagoa. Having a few problems with traffic as he comes through, but he should be nice and tidy in ready for the next lap. He once again picks that outside line to go through box, but he can't quite make the move stick. Oh, and his driver that he was actually trying to get out of the way, deciding to do so by taking to the grass. So through Vitoria to commence the lap with 3 minutes left on the clock. So let's see who's got the best chance of snatching the fastest time. Another practice session, I do believe, the warm-up before. There's Henry Virok, it's just sitting in the pits, idly waiting. You think he must be absolutely satisfied with what he's got, and it looks like Bram Hengeveld there on the back straight, practicing a start, and that's always useful getting into the start of the race, because of course, as many people know, in many different disciplines of motorsport, the start can make or break your race. In these very light and nimble cars, it couldn't be more to the point. So Bram Hengeveld just trying to get used to the car. There's Henry Virok. Sen is actually the man who set the fastest lap in this session, so good work for him. He currently leads the way, and as far as Alexander Sen is concerned, that couldn't be better. He would certainly like to put himself at the front end of the field, doing so in the manner in which he has, certainly going to put him in good form for the race. So Hengeveld and Naslund both trying to see if they can compete on a par with Sen, who just didn't quite manage to get a pole position lap in the last session. So as he comes through to complete the lap with 1.5 minutes left on the clock, then I do believe still the fastest driver out there. We're not getting any lap times as such with this particular session. I have a feeling that might just be because this is the warm-up rather than qualifying, so Hengeveld has got himself into second position. A lot of drivers now, you can see, practicing the start on the back straight. It's the best possible time to practice it. You're not going to get a better opportunity than this practice session. And the drivers, as you can see, really trying to get things absolutely perfect. You can only make a good start once in a race. It's now or never really for the drivers to get themselves into shape and get the best getaway. Very difficult to try and combat wheel spin at a circuit like this, where it's quite dusty anyway. Drivers having to work just that little bit extra hard in order to get the very best out of their machines. So there's Harvey, Neil Harvey, sitting in the pits, just taking things nice and easy for the moment. Not so Ramon Alonso. He's out there feeling his way through the corners and just trying to get the best as he possibly can out of his machinery. So an interesting racing prospect, not the least because it's on a former Formula 1 track, one of the hardcore motor racing circuits, if you like, from the bygone days of 1980s Formula 1 racing. We're talking about the 1989 Brazilian Grand Prix held there. A lot of people, of course, as well remember 1982's race. The lead changed several times, including one for Nelson Piquet, who I do believe ended up winning the race and then passing out, and then was eventually excluded. So drama certainly happens on this particular circuit. Certainly ends up making for an entertaining spectacle. Those who compete. I'm fairly certain that's the warm-up session coming to a close. So it shouldn't be too long now before we get the race underway. And for the front row men, Henry Virok and Bram Hengeveld, it can't come sooner. So now we look to our 22 drivers who are going to make this the spectacle that it is. They have now done their qualifying session, they've done their warm-up as well, so it should be right around the corner, the race. So now the cars are lining up on the starting grid. They're going round for their formation lap, I do believe. No, indeed, it's the start of the race. So Virok makes a great blast into the first corner, charges through in front of Bram Hengeveld, and through the first two corners. Very nice indeed on the back straight. It is a good start from Virok as Hengeveld slots himself nicely into second position. It looks like it's a clean start throughout the rest of the field. Very nice move indeed from Bram Hengeveld to try and decrease the gap as the field filters through. Very nice indeed from Vinari as well. He's managed to put himself up into the top 6 after a good start himself. And so through Vinari comes up towards the left-hander section of the circuit, desperately trying to get closer to the men in 4th and 5th positions. Not an easy part of the race this, cold tyres, everybody starting to feel their feet through the course of the race. The battle for 2nd position looking like it's getting very hairy out there already, so the drivers are just trying to get through this first lap without incident, and then they can settle into a rhythm and get the race on properly. So away they go then. Bram Hengeveld now starting to make his bid to get past Virok, and up the inside he goes. He's got good line on the exit of the corner. He now slots back in behind Henry Virok in order to try and slipstream him down the back straight. He might be able to get him around the outside going into Sul, but Virok is defending well, and now Walsh coming up the inside. So Luke Walsh puts himself on the inside of Bram Hengeveld. Hengeveld just trying to hang on in there, and there's a slide and there's contact between them, but Walsh hangs on in there and keeps the place. He's up to 2nd position with great driving as he gets past Hengeveld. Brilliant stuff then from Luke Walsh as he hangs on to that 2nd place. No way are you getting past me this time, Bram. He slams the door firmly in his face, and now Bram has to go down the inside of box in order to make the move side by side. This is only the 2nd lap of the race, and it is game on. So Hengeveld round the outside of Walsh once again, struggling for grip as he comes out of the corner, but Walsh has been completely annihilated in that move by Hengeveld, and Walsh determined not to let Hengeveld get away with that. He's got to pick his braking absolutely to perfection, and Hengeveld leaves it just too late. So Walsh has got no response on that particular occasion, but the intent certainly is there. Henry Virok leads away then from Hengeveld, Walsh, and it looks like it's Alexander Sene in 4th place. So Walsh now starting the attack again on Hengeveld, hoping that this time Bram has got no response when he finds a way up the inside. Struggling for grip off the corner. Very neat and tidy at the moment, Walsh, and Hengeveld is starting to close in on Henry Virok as well, so now the top 3 are really starting to bunch in. So Virok is your new leader, having made the best start and hanging on to the race lead at the moment. Hengeveld won last time out, and he'll be wanting to pip Virok to it once again. But Luke Walsh has got his own ideas and intentions on this win, and don't count out Sene as well. Alexander Sene is staying with all 3 of those drivers in 4th position, so it wouldn't necessarily be a bad move to Bram Hengeveld decides to go for it. Bram Hengeveld comes from absolutely miles back and decides to go for it up the inside of Virok, and now Virok is having to play defensive. Darts to the inside line. He is not going to let Bram Hengeveld get through there, and now Bram's trying to go right round the outside at Sul. This is brilliant. Hengeveld has now got the inside line for the next corner. There's contact! There's contact! And off goes Henry Virok! Virok and Hengeveld come together, and now Hengeveld has lost ground to Alexander Sene. So Sene is leading this race. Hengeveld is down to 2nd, and surely Bram Hengeveld is going to get some form of disciplinary action for that move. That is certainly not the name of the game. So Bram Hengeveld, the man under fire, makes a desperate lunge on Henry Virok. Going into the right-hander, there's contact, and Virok's race is destroyed. He now has to play catch-up, and it's benefited Luke Walsh as well. He's now safely through into 3rd place, but as a result of that, just as I was saying, Alexander Sene is in a good position to capitalise if the top 3 get into trouble. That's exactly what's happened. And now Webber in 4th position. Number 9, Scott Webber, is closing in on Luke Walsh as well. In the battle for 3rd position, Webber's now actually the dark horse. He's got himself a good opportunity to close in on number 8, Luke Walsh, and start the attack, and Bram Hengeveld locking up his tyres, still pushing hard, trying to catch Sene now to take over the lead. Bram wants 2 out of 2, and once again his braking is so late as he closes in behind Alexander Sene. He can't get through this time, but he is doing absolutely everything in his power to get up in 1st position. So Henry Virok's race is not completely over. He has recovered and is now down into 6th position, but he won't be happy about it. Bram Hengeveld, a desperate lunge up the inside. This 2nd race is already turning into a thrill fest. The first race was exciting and the second one is proving to be just as intense. So Virok down towards the first corner. Difficult to see who's going to get the best line out. Webber looks to the inside of Walsh and can't quite make the move, so he tucks back in for the slipstream. And Virok is doing likewise in the battle for fourth position. And it looks like Webber's about to go down a place. No, he doesn't, because he's braking his time to perfection. And now Virok is making his move up the inside to fifth place. Oh, very close indeed between these two. So Virok trying desperately to make up for lost time. He's down into sixth position. He's going to have to work so hard if he wants to move back up into the top three. There's barely anything between them, and he has to back out of it. He has to back out of that one. There was no way two cars were going to fit into that piece of tarmac. And Henry Virok just taking the sensible option and deciding, you know what, I want to finish this race, so I'm going to back out of the race and try again in a minute. And it looked like Scott Webber went very deep into Vittoria, but manages to recover the car, and he hasn't lost too much time, so he's still in contention for third position. Up at the front though, it's still Senna and Hengevald absolutely battling it out hard for the lead. Senna has got Hengevald right up in the slipstream now. Here is that leading battle. So for Interlagos Motorsport, Senna is holding the lead, but it doesn't look like it's going to last too much longer, because Bram Hengevald is right on his tail as they go through Sul up towards Moret. Really struggling now for Bram Hengevald, still pushing hard. He's throwing the car through the corners with absolute titanic authority. Oh, and he's hit Senna! He's hit Senna! Senna hits the wall! Alexander Senna hit the wall. He's lost the front and rear wheel. He gets pitched off by Bram Hengevald. Twice in 3 laps, Bram Hengevald collides with the lead driver and ruins their race. Surely now Bram Hengevald is going to take some form of penalty. Once is one thing, twice is just ridiculous as Alexander Senna makes his way into the pits. A brilliant chance of victory is now over. He can't drive that car with so much reduced downforce. He's got to come into the pits for repairs. And in he comes. And absolutely devastating for Alexander Senna. So back at the front of the field now, Bram Hengevald is the race leader. Dear oh dear, that's not the way to go racing. And now twice in 3 laps, Bram Hengevald has had a collision with the leading driver and got away scot-free. I have a feeling that the judges will want to have their say on the outcome of this one. Behind them though, Walsh and Webber are still battling over that second place, with Luke Walsh having the edge just for the moment. Although all it takes is one driver to drop the ball. It's a long race, remember, 50 minutes. So any one mistake a driver makes can be the difference between first position and second. Got Webber really starting to get into a nice rhythm now as he charges after Luke Webber. Oh, he's run wide! He's run wide! And he loses the car. I've got a commentator's curse coming on, I think. Scott Webber runs wide. Just as I was saying, he was starting to look very smooth out there. So into the first corner, we ride on board, looking at the rear-facing camera at the battle for fourth position, and it really is a close fight between these two. So it's looking like Henry Virok is going to start making his attack to move up into fourth position. The nicest way possible to Senna. His incident has obviously helped Virok out a little bit more, moved him up another place. So Henry Virok will be absolutely determined to move back up into the top 3. He's got 2 cars blocking his way at the moment. So Webber hanging on to things at the moment. Now Virok making his move. Oh, he just can't find a way through at the moment. Still struggling to make his move up into fourth place. And I wonder who that is in fourth position at the moment. It's tricky to see who's got the position at the moment. It's Jari Venari who hangs on to fourth position at the present moment behind Webber. Venari has actually worked very carefully to put himself into fourth position. It's a cool and calm and calculated drive, and he's now defending valiantly from Virok, who now makes his move up the inside. Who's going to get to the braking zone first? Well, Venari places his car absolutely perfectly. He doesn't chop Virok off, but he gives him enough space to make up his own mind as to where he's going through the corner. That's smart driving from Jari Venari. So Virok off the corner. He's in the slipstream. Is he going to be able to make the move? The answer is no, because Venari once again is wide for the move. Oh, Virok's going right round the outside. Can Virok make the move? to go into the lead of the race. There's contact once again. Virok gets into a spill with another driver. And this time it's Jacarepaguá, but Venari hangs on. He wrestles with the car and he is determined. He hangs on to 4th place. No way are you getting past me there, Sunshine. Try again. Very nice driving from Jacarepaguá. So Virok having to work extra hard in his bid to move up into 4th place. Jacarepaguá is no slouch, and Virok is certainly getting the benefit of the doubt on that one as they lap. Oh dear, it's such a tragic sight. Alexander Sen being lapped by Henry Virok after the accident between himself and Bram Hengeveld, and now there's smoke coming off the car, so I have a feeling that might be a terminal mechanical problem for Alexander Sen, having had a bit of a moment earlier on, or maybe it's just a little bit of oil that's started to deposit itself out of the car. Yes indeed, it looks like that puff of smoke is now gone. So Virok is now charging up behind Jacarepaguá to try and get hold of that 4th position. He's not done yet, is he? Right round the outside through Sul and into the right-hander. He's really struggling to find a way to get past. Venari is making that car as wide as a bus. He's not going to let him get through easy. And now once again he slams the door firmly shut in Henry Virok's face. He must be getting so frustrated. Still these two battle, and it's giving Scott Webber a perfect run to 3rd position at the moment, while Luke Walsh is actually closing in on Bram Hengeveld at the moment by the look of things. He's disappeared from Webber's position on the circuit, and this is turning into a 3-way battle for 3rd position now, because this battle between Venari and Virok is getting ever closer to Scott Webber. And we join on the left pod of Virok's car as Henry Virok gets ever closer to Jacarepaguá, who is starting to respond to this pressure by charging after 3rd place Scott Webber. Virok round the outside once again, and he's got himself a good line for the inside of the right-hander. Venari is not going to let him get through. He desperately tries. There's contact again, and this time Venari, is he still there on the inside? Yes, he is. Venari is not letting him go. Virok cannot get past Venari at the moment. Now he tries for the inside, but he just can't do it. He just cannot find a way through at the moment. So once again, Henry Virok charging behind Jacarepaguá, trying to make the move up the inside, and he just can't make it stick. No matter where he places the car, he just can't find the grip. He just hasn't quite got enough traction off the corner to make the move, so he's having to think very carefully, where do I place the car? How late do I brake? Where do I position it on the circuit? And Jacarepaguá seems to be wise to every single move he makes at the moment. It's not just a motor race, it's turning into a 3-dimensional game of chess. Brilliant stuff. So up at the front of the race is man under fire, Bram Hengeveld, and closing in on the battle for the top 5 is Connie Nasland in 6th place. There is Hengeveld, leading at the moment, but how long is that going to be for? Luke Walsh is the man in 2nd place. But I have a feeling, if the motorsport gods are with Luke Walsh, that Bram Hengeveld may well get a ticking off from the stewards either during or after the race. Certainly looking good for Webber in 3rd place, and Venari and Virok still at war. This is brilliant. Virok once again dives for the inside, and Venari once again cuts him off before he even gets to the braking zone. These two could well end up being in a race-long duel. If they can keep this up for 35 minutes, then hats off to both of them. Virok for trying, and Yari for defending. Connie Nasland, as we saw, is in 6th position behind this battle. So if there are any more pickups within the top 5, then it's Connie Nasland in 6th who's going to pick up the pieces. And it certainly couldn't come at a better time as far as Nasland is concerned, as once again Virok round the outside tries to make the move, and this time it's even more perfect than it was before. He manages to slice his way through. This time Venari has no response, and this time Henry Virok has made his way up into 4th place. Thank you very much, I'm off. Brilliant work then from Henry Virok. We knew the move was going to come, but whether it was going to be a clean one or not, or whether it was going to be easy to get through, that was the difference. He certainly made it count. A nice move up the inside of Jacarepaguá as Connie Naz then closes up in 6th. 7th is Reto Cristiani. Looking good for him to finish solidly in the top 10 at the moment. Just behind him in 8th place is Swart, although I say that about Reto Cristiani. He locks up big style going into Victoria, but he hangs on to his position. So Reto Cristiani stays in 7th place. 8th then is 8th position, sorry, is Kieran Swart, as we said. Looking very good for 9th position. Oh, that's one of the blue machines. Half an hour to go for that one. It's Anthony Levine in car number 20. Pushing hard then in 9th position. And to round up the top 10 for the present moment, it's Antonia. So Philip Antonia in 14th position. Sorry, in car number 14, my apologies. Running in 10th position. Looking good for the points at the moment. And then in 11th we have Rico Arnold for Break for Beer, who's looking pretty consistent at the moment in terms of keeping his position. Hasn't made too many mistakes so far. Matt Venn in number 13, running in his own team, finding himself pretty close at the moment to the battle for the top 10. So he's not doing too badly. Meanwhile, now Henry Virok has got himself past Benari. He's got himself second win and he's charging towards Webber, who now is the man who has to play defence. And Virok really starting to prove that he has the wheels for this race. He had the pole position, of course, and it's no wonder he's able to get on terms with Webber very quickly. Down the back straight, side by side. It's all about who breaks first, and it's Virok by a country mile who beats Webber through the corner. So Webber was obviously not quite as comfortable with his braking point as Virok was with his, but now Webber is not giving up. He's certainly not taking it down, taking it lying down. He's pushing hard onto the back of Henry Virok. And now Jacarepaguá is hoping to move his way up into 4th position just behind as well, looking for an opportunity where Webber might make a move on Virok, make a mistake, and might be able to snatch the points off him. So Webber intensely pressuring Virok. Yes, he's just lost the place, but he's certainly not letting Henry Virok get away, and that was a very wild lunge there by Jacarepaguá. He was never going to get through, but it was a nice opportunity for him to just remind Scott Webber, I am right behind him. We've got someone off on the main straight. Somebody has lost the car and gone off. I think it must be a back marker. I can't see any of the leading bunch of cars. Yes, there it is. One of the cars has spun right at the very back of the field, damaged the car very badly by the look of it, lost the front and rear wheel. I don't think it's one of the leading cars. Certainly not one of the top 6 anyway, as Virok pulls out a little bit from Webber, who's still battling it out with Jacarepaguá for 4th position. We'll try and see who it was that made that error of judgment on the main straight. Obviously just got a little bit too heavy into Vittoria, lost the back end and ended up in the wall. It's Philip Antonia. So, well, Philip Antonia, I don't think it was him who went off at the last corner, but he's lost his rear wing. So Philip Antonia has now had an incident out on the circuit. Ah, there's the car, there's the man. He's just been lapped by Harvey. So we'll try and figure out who it is that's been lapped. Begley's gone through as well, and really badly in trouble. It's Alonso. So Ramon Alonso has lost the car, dropped it on the exit of Vittoria. He was running up in about 12th or 13th place, I think. So Ramon Alonso really in trouble. He's obviously gone into the wall at Vittoria very hard indeed. He's having to take to the grass. I have a feeling that well, he's having to take to the grass to get out of the way of the leading bunch of cars. I have a feeling he's bringing that car straight back into the pit lane, and hopefully he'll be able to get it out again. So looking at Vinicius Ferreira, very colourful car, that one, very much a Brazilian colour scheme there for the home fans, and nice to see him making steady progress through the field. Conti in 20th position, still holding his own. It shows the attrition rate of the field. No major retirements, I don't think, at this point of the race, so we still have a full field, although Ramon Alonso still going backwards through the field in his attempts to bring the car into the pits. And we've lost somebody else going off on the exit there. Cordis in 21st position, but somebody else has gone off at Vittoria. So once again, those mistakes are starting to creep in as drivers are pushing so hard to try and make the difference. And I think it might have been, yes, it was Hunter. So Hunter's now in trouble. So Ken Hunter, having worked very hard indeed in the early part of the race, has obviously made a mistake going into Vitoria, and now he finds himself down towards the tail end of the field. And not only that, but he's got the back markers coming through to lap them. So back onto the track, Walsh is there in second position, having just lapped the tail ender, and Virok is closing in all the time. So Walsh has really got to step up his game in terms of his rhythm. There is Virok. It was a long way back previously, but Henry Virok is a man on a mission. He's been taken out of the race pretty much by Graham Hengeveld, and he wants it. Here we go. We're on board with him now as he sweeps through the left-hander towards Vitoria. We've already seen a couple of drivers lose it as they go into the corner, obviously just putting too much of the car onto the curbs and then losing the back end and spinning straight into the wall. It is an easy mistake to make for those who are unprepared for it. It's no such mistake from Henry Virok. He's got a charge on his hands, closing in on Luke Walsh to make that critical move up into second position. Certainly has the advantage under braking at the moment as they lap a slower car, and I think that is a very nice place to put the car, considering, even though it's obviously an intense race and the drivers are being lapped during a race as well. But it just goes to show that there's a very fair system of drivers out there who are prepared to move over them and let the leaders through. So Virok still closing the gap down to Walsh all the time. He's taking a good half a second out of him every time they go through a section of the course. It looks very good indeed for Henry Virok, who is almost certainly the fastest man on the track right at the moment. He's got Luke Walsh is in the slipstream now, so it really is very close now to see, is he going to get through, more importantly, and second of all, when is it going to happen? He's going to push hard onto the back of Luke Walsh, and then he'll have Graham Hengeveld to chase after, and when they get close to each other again, there may well be fireworks. We've got somebody in the pits, so obviously that's to repair damage, but Luke Walsh is still heading this battle for second position, best of the rest if you like. Henry Virok is very much fighting for victory in this race. He has 27 minutes left of the race in which to make an impression. We're watching him as he plows through from the helicopter cam on the side, able to get very close to him, these variable cameras, and Henry Virok very close indeed to the back of Luke Walsh's car now, sweeping through the left-handers, really starting to make an impression. He starts to look. This is the moment that Henry Virok's been waiting for. He's got close to Luke Walsh. Now he's starting to make a window, give himself an opportunity to get through. He makes a lunge down the inside, into box. He can't quite get through there. Luke Walsh is not going to let him out that easy. And so, once again, another driver having to play defensive when Henry Virok comes to town. So, off Vitoria, Virok is once again hassling Luke Walsh as they head down towards turn 1, left-hander. Is he going to make a desperate lunge? No, not this time. He's going to play it safe, take a wide line, and then plow on the throttle. That little bit earlier than Luke Walsh, and that should be enough to bring Virok up alongside. This is the helicopter cam. He's got himself up the inside. Is he going to make a move? Yes, he does. Very nice indeed. And now Walsh is desperately trying to come back at him. There's nothing he can do. Very nice move there from Henry Virok. Timed to perfection, calculated and planned, although Walsh is now coming back at Virok. He's certainly no slouch when it comes to an overtaking move, is he, Luke Walsh? He's not going to be intimidated by Henry Virok. He's just going to get straight back on with things. So 25.5 minutes left of this second round of the Race Department Open Wheel Championship here at the Jacarepaguá circuit in Rio de Janeiro. And just like the first race of the season, it's Graham Hengeveld who leads. Oh no, this time there's contact, there's contact! Oh my goodness, Luke Walsh tried to make the move back up on the inside of Henry Virok, and they come together. And that means to say that Connie Nasland is up into third position, I do believe. Well now hang on, because Nasland is showing up on the computer as running in third place. Luke Walsh is showing up as running in second. So Henry Virok is shown up, I suppose, as running in first. Yes, indeed. So that must mean then that the Race Department officials have looked at Graham Hengeveld's move and they've taken action. So Graham Hengeveld's obviously has obviously had the ticking off in the marshals. Henry Virok has made his charge up through the field. It wasn't a battle for second place, it was a battle for first. Oh well, we didn't get a notification of that one. So Graham Hengeveld, obviously the judges taking a very dim view of his manoeuvres, first of all on Henry Virok at the very start of the race, and then later on with Alexander Senna. So obviously the marshals and the officials have all collaborated together and decided, right, get Bram Hengeveld out of this one. And so now the race leader is Henry Virok. I wonder where Bram is actually on the circuit. He might well have brought it in as well. There's Ramon Alonso. He's obviously had his own problems and the car undrivable, so he's now out of the race. That's a shame. Ramon Alonso out of this one. Hunter is there in 21st. So obviously Bram Hengeveld has obviously had to come in for a penalty, I suppose. Conti is there, having retired his car from the race. Cordice is still running and circulating in 19th, so that technically means we've got 20 cars running in the field. Antonio has got into the pits and repaired his car, so that's good work from him. He obviously had damage to the rear and he's managed to repair it. So there's Vinicius Ferreira in 17th place. I have a feeling Bram Hengeveld's had to come in for a penalty rather than actually have him disqualified from the entirety of the race. There's Alexander Sen in 16th place, desperately trying to move up through the field, but now he's got battling cars to deal with in front of him. There's Begley. So Dave Begley still running and looking pretty good for a decent points finish as well, running in 15th place. There's Neil Harvey running in 14th, comes through. 13th is Devery. So it's looking more and more likely that Bram Hengeveld was not actually disqualified from the race, but has obviously had to take a penalty. So he's obviously made a stop-go penalty when we haven't seen it. There's Jonas Lex coming through in 12th position. Raiko Arnold there in 11th. So now we're going to see the top 10 drivers at this precise moment in the race when there's 22 minutes to go. So Matt Venn is running in 10th position. That's very good news for him. He's trying to hold off Vinicius Ferreira all the way. Anthony Levine in 9th place, and he's embroiled in a battle all of his own, and it is for 8th position. He's really racing hard in 9th place. Levine trying to make up the difference to go up the inside, and he then has to tuck back in. He's up the inside, very close between these two. Oh dear, Levine banging wheels with his rival, and he loses a bit of ground. Alexander Senna nearly unlapping himself there from Anthony Levine. So Levine finds himself in 9th position. Man he's battling with is Kieran Swart in 8th position. So these two really locking swords as they come through the corners on the back straight and in towards Seoul. They were banging wheels on the exit. Fantastic stuff. It's more like a stock car race between these two than it is a Formula 3. Oh, and he missed his braking completely, Kieran Swart. And that's the move that Anthony Levine was hoping for. He misses his braking point, and Levine says, cheers, mate, I'll have that. And now, on the outside, Kieran Swart is owing, oh, no, you don't, mate. I'm going to get you back again for it. Levine brakes later. He's taking it too deep, though, because now back on the charge. Once again, Kieran Swart. And there's Bram Hengeveld. So Bram Hengeveld running in 7th position, so he must have taken a stop-and-go penalty for his misdemeanors. There's Reto Cristiani running in 6th position, and that's the man that Hengeveld is trying to catch at the moment. 5th position is still Scott Webber for the Daredevils team in 5th position, and it looks like there's a battle for 3rd place now between, yes there is, 3rd position. The battle is on between Connie Naslund and Jali Vanari. So Connie Naslund really starting to get the pressure from Jali Vanari. So Naslund has obviously got himself past Vanari at some point because he was behind him earlier on. We didn't see the move, but now that Naslund has got himself up into 3rd place, Vanari wants to take it back, and somebody is spraying all kinds of steam and smoke towards this leading bunch. It's one of the slower cars, so we have a feeling that there could be more mechanical gremlins creeping in, or one of the drivers about to be lapped. But Henry Virok is probably thinking that Christmas and birthday had come early. He's been gift-wrapped to victory by virtue of the fact that he was taken off early on by Bram Hengeveld, and then he charged his way back through the field. Bram took his penalty, and now Henry Virok has got himself a free pass, as it were, to the lead of the race. And with just under 20 minutes left to go, it's certainly looking good for Virok as far as race win is concerned. But Jari Vanari is certainly not giving up on 3rd position. Luke Walsh is there in 2nd. Connie Naslund is there in 3rd. And Vanari very much eyes a podium, and certainly is going for it. Now I think that's one of the Then Motorsport Drive is getting out of the way. So fortunately it doesn't cause an issue for any of the front runners. And who is that running wide? It looks like one of the slower cars. I don't think it's one of the top 5. Certainly looks like we've still got Virok in first place. Walsh is still there in second, yes, so it's not affected the leading bunch, and Walsh is desperately trying to close up again on Virok. But Henry loves this place. He's just got the measure of his car. There he is. Very nice and in control of things at the moment. Fastest in qualifying, fastest in the race, and he certainly looks like he's going to get a great victory. But at least he can know, he can take from it the fact that he's earned this one. It wasn't gifted to him on a plate. Yes, Bram Hengeveld did take a penalty, but it was for an incident that was of his own making. And it's, I suppose in a way, it's sort of justice as far as Henry Virok is concerned, because he was the victim in that incident. He manages to make himself, even without Bram Hengeveld's penalty, he brought his way back up to what would have been second place. So a valiant drive from Henry Virok, one of the best single-seater drives I've seen all season. So Henry Virok really getting on with things and taking a commanding lead in this race. And in terms of the championship fight, it's certainly going to make things more interesting as we go to the third round of the championship. So now, of course, the championship standings show that Vinari was third in the championship standings behind Connie Nasland and Bram Hengeveld. But now the top 3 is going to be very different when through will come Henry Virok as the driver at the front of the field. In this particular race, it's certainly going to change things in terms of the championship standings. Through Henry Virok comes once again to complete another lap as Luke Walsh is now, well, he's not too far away actually. I have a feeling that Walsh is now starting to close in the gap a little bit. Perhaps Virok is starting to tire now. It's the second half of the race and Virok is starting to lose the control. It's Luke Walsh who loses it. Luke Walsh has gone so deep into Vittoria, he loses his second place. Goodness me, he's lost round so much time. He's lost everything he worked so hard for. Luke Walsh runs wide at Vittoria and completely destroys his own race. And that's when the mistakes are going to start creeping in. Drivers are really going to have to pick up their game and keep their focus on if they want to finish in the top 3. It's heaven sent as far as Jari Vinari and Connie Nasland are concerned. They both picked up an extra place. So now Vinari is trying to close in on Connie Nasland for second place, not for third as it was before. But obviously in a championship that's as fiercely competitive as this, where all the cars are pretty much equal out there, and so are these setups as well. Fantastic to see that the driver really does make the difference. And as far as Jari Vinari is concerned, he's made fewer mistakes than the men behind him, so that's why he's currently running in third. Nasland is second, but your leader is still Henry Virok. Now, to see how Virok is coping with the traffic, the answer is absolutely perfect. He's not having any issues at the moment at the front of the field. He's just settling down into a rhythm, and it's certainly good to get into a rhythm when you've got the lead of a race. But whether he can keep it, whether he can maintain the pace, whether he can just control his focus, make sure that he puts himself into a position where he doesn't have to panic. Got a lead, he's got an advantage, he needs to use it, and he's certainly making light work of things at the front at the moment. Connie Nasland, though, is staying in touch, and that could end up being something quite entertaining towards the end of the race, although Nasland did look like he got a very wide line off the exit of the corner. That shows you how much he's pushing. Nasland finished up second last time out at Campo Grande, so he will want better than second place this time, although if he stays where he is, he will of course take over the lead of championship by virtue of his consistency. He won't have won a race, but he will have taken second twice, and that will put him at the very top position of the championship standings. So there's Scott Webber, who looks like he's dealing with a lapped Alexandra Sen. Nobody's told Sen that his race... Oh no, it's not. So it's Webber down in 8th position now. So Webber is struggling with his position down in 8th place. So Webber has lost some time in an incident of his own. So it's his Daredevil's teammate who's actually running further up the field. So once again, another driver running towards the top 6, having to struggle with their own focus and concentration levels, as Webber has dropped back into 8th position now. So that must surely mean that Bram Hengeveld is in amongst that top 6 now. Well, there's Bill Devery running in 9th position. is Kieran Swart. So it's Kieran Swart who's in 6th position, still battling it out on the racetrack. He's now in 6th position, and I do believe that must be Senna who's racing with him. He's a lap down, but he's still battling it out. I don't think there's any rules about a driver who's a lap adrift trying to get his position back, but Swart is having none of it. But Kieran Swart is now the upper hand driver in Daredevils. It was Scott Webber, so he's obviously made a mistake somewhere else on the circuit, and that's all that Kieran Swart needed to move up the field. So he's now in 6th position. That means Bram Hengeveld, yes, there he is. He's running in 5th, and look who he's catching. It's Luke Walsh in 4th position. The man under pressure, trying desperately not to lose even more time than he lost to Connie Nasdin and Jari Vanari. And in fact, not only is Walsh getting on for things, he's actually closing in on Jari Vanari. So this is becoming a 3-car battle once again for 3rd position. Whoever said this form of racing was boring, it's certainly wrong. These guys are absolutely tearing up the circuit. So through Moret they come. Very close indeed to see who's going to get the best off the corner. Bram Hengeveld desperately trying to move his way back up into 1st place. I tell you what, if he manages it, it'll be the drive of a lifetime, because he's only got 13 minutes left on the clock to do anything about getting into the top 3. He's got a position, he's got an opportunity to grab a podium perhaps, but as for Virov and Nasdin, they're in a class of their own at the moment up at the front. Although now, those 2 cars, Nasdin and Virov, no they can't be, Virov is well blue, so Virov is obviously further up the field than we thought. But Bram Hengeveld has got a perfect bird's eye view of Walsh. Heading Vanari in the battle for 3rd place. Vanari and Walsh come together, and Vanari has come off worse. Walsh continues. Hengeveld has now spotted an opportunity. Right, this is my chance. I'm going for 3rd position on the back straight. Walsh holds up Hengeveld. He's not letting him get through. He's worked so hard to get back into 3rd place past Vanari. He's done it by hitting him, and that could mean he gets a penalty. Now Hengeveld charges up the inside. He's coming in contact again with Luke Walsh, but this time Walsh is not going to let Hengeveld through. Dear me, Bram Hengeveld really is the kamikaze driver of the field when it comes to wild and voracious moves. Desperately tries to make a move on Luke Walsh, and he can't quite get through, very nearly taking off his nose cone in the process. But well, that incident with Walsh and Vanari is going to be investigated, I'm sure. Now Hengeveld going around the outside of Walsh. He backs off the challenge. He's on the slipstream. He's got a better traction off the corner. Going to go the long way round. By side, who's going to get there first to the corner? Walsh is going to brake late. Hengeveld's going to brake even later, and he's going to go right round the outside. He's got better traction on the corner. They're side by side down the back straight, and Hengeveld has got it. Brilliant overtaking move from Bram Hengeveld. Walsh is now coming back at him as they go down towards box. Up the inside, there's contact, and Walsh is not going to let Bram Hengeveld get away. This is brilliant stuff. Still, Luke Walsh pushing hard on Bram Hengeveld. He can't quite make it stick, but Walsh is determined. You shoved me wide, that's how you got through, have some of this. And Bram Hengeveld is desperately trying to get away. So Walsh pushing hard, and Hengeveld takes the position. He's now up into 3rd place. We did say if he gets a win, it'll be the drive of a lifetime. And he suddenly goes from 5th to 3rd in the twinkling of an eye, and Connie Nasland is not far up the road. But the big question now is that incident between Walsh and Vanari going to be investigated, and is there going to be a penalty? So Nasland brakes hard into the first corner. Hengeveld is 3rd. Oh, he nearly loses the car. That's how hard he's pushing. Bram Hengeveld fishtails off the corner. He collects it with lightning reflexes. I love this championship. It's brilliant. All the drivers pushing so hard. They want to get the win. They all know that all it takes is for one driver to drop the ball, and the order can change just like that. Although through all of this, it seems that one driver has not dropped the ball at any point in terms of mistakes of his own making. He's been involved in other drivers' incidents, of course, that's put him down the field. And as Hengeveld closes in on Connie Nasland, the driver that seems to have made no mistakes at all out there is Henry the two left-handers on the back of the circuit. Somebody had spun their car on the straight. I couldn't quite see who it was. It looked like a back marker. As now Hengeveld challenging onto the inside of Colin Aslan. Here we go again. He breaks later. Is he going to move up into second place? Yes, he does. Very nice move there from Bram Hengeveld. And now he's got 9 minutes to close up on Henri Virok. So Bram Hengeveld making up for lost time and making good for his earlier incident. He took a penalty he should have done, and that's all fair and good, and now he's making up for it by racing fairly and squarely, although in a very determined manner. So Bram Hengeveld redeeming himself out on the circuit with some more precise moves, and certainly now pulling away already from Colin Aslan. The battle really is on. 9 minutes to go, and Henri Virok is pushing, and he's kicking up the dust as he comes off the corners. He knows by now that Bram Hengeveld will be in second place, and he will be pushing with everything he's got. So Hengeveld once again through Vitoria, nice and easy, smoking the tyres as he comes into the braking zone. That shows you how hard he's trying. One. And once again Hengeveld locks up. He is absolutely determined. Close in on Henri Virok. He wants the win. Second is not good enough as far as he's concerned. And with 8 minutes left, running out of time. So Colin Aslan holds on to that third position. Fourth place should still be Luke Walsh from Jacarepaguá, and it looks like that is the order. Yes, indeed. Although I'm still a little concerned about that incident between Walsh and Benari into turn 1. It was very close. The judges may decide it was just a racing incident between the two of them, but there was definite contact with Walsh up the inside of Benari, and he did gain the place from doing so. So it'll be interesting to see what the officials say about it. Kieran Swart in 6th position for Daredevils, and he's now being caught by Reto Cristiani up into 7th place. That's a brilliant drive. He was running in 10th position for quite a long time, and so he's been able to pick off another couple of cars and bring himself into the challenge for 6th position. Great work from Reto. We're on board with him now as he closes in on Kieran Swart, and he's looking very smooth. He's gone on with things very quietly in 7th place and brought himself into the battle for 6th place, and now he's actually trying to make a move on Kieran Swart. He knows he's not going to get past there, but he's just letting Kieran know that he's around, not far off making the move. Tries to sell him a dummy. Swart is wise to it. He's not going to let him through. Brilliant racing. Fantastic racecraft out there, particularly from these two. Kieran Swart and Reto Cristiani getting it on for 6th position. Cristiani goes the long way round, under braking, and he's done it! He's done it! Swart's still there on the inside, but Cristiani's going to get better drive off the corner. He's done it! Up into 6th place! What a move from Reto Cristiani! Brilliant drive, and up into 6th position he goes. That's the mark of a class racer. So brilliant stuff there from Reto Cristiani, and he's already leaving Kieran Swart for dead. So he gets on with things quietly towards the tail end of the top 6, but up into 6th place he goes, and Reto Cristiani looking like a champion as he makes that move. Round the outside, he just completely outclassed him, and now Scott Webber is the next man for Kieran Swart to defend, and that's an inter-team battle, of course. The two Daredevils drivers are going to be battling it out for 7th place. So let's look at the rest of the drivers in their positions. Jonas Lex in 9th position, just in front of Rico Arnold in 10th position for Break for Beer. 11th then is Bill Devery, and he's now challenging, trying to continue to increase the gap over Alexandra Sen, who has moved up into 12th position. Behind him on the road is Henri Virok, by the look of things, who's still out in front from Bram Hengeveld and doing nicely. 13th there is Dave Begley, trying to pull away from Matt Venn in his own team car, of course. Then in 15th position is Vinicius Ferreira, as he ploughs onto his home straight in more ways than one. And that's actually a quite nice drive there from Philip Antonio. Yes, he is down in 16th position, but he's managed to get that car repaired, and he's got himself back into the event. A couple of the other drivers who've made mistakes have not even done that. Kevin Cordis currently running in 17th position as he goes into the last corner. And Anthony Levine down there in 18th place, so he's obviously had a bit of a lackluster race as well. A few incidents have dropped him right down the order. That's a surprise to see Levine all the way down in 18th. Hunter is there in 19th, so Ken is obviously driving as well as he can. And then we've got the first of the retirements. Neil Harvey in 20th position out of the race. So too was Corrado Conti quite early on, in fact, in the Mitsubishi car. And then Ramon Alonso, as we very publicly saw, losing the car on the exit of the Vittoria corner. So 19 cars still running off the 22 that started, and with 4 minutes to go, Henri Viroc is looking very neat and tidy. There's about 4 laps left of the race, judging by the laps they set in qualifying, possibly 5. So Henri Viroc, it's looking very good, although Bram Hengeveld has not said die yet. Still pushing hard as he goes into turn 1. And as far as Bram Hengeveld is concerned, there's 4 minutes left, so there's still a race on. Determined to charge now behind. Connie Nasland still holds 3rd position, although Luke Walsh is still charging in his attempt to move up into 3rd place. We're on board now with Connie Nasland as he looks back towards Walsh. So evenly matched. They come off the corner. And Walsh, oh, a little bit of a nudge off the back of Connie Nasland, and that's enough to get him through. Now that's the 2nd time he's been involved. Now hang on, that's a good bit of sportsmanship there from Luke Walsh. Knew that there was a bit of contact. He knew that he had obviously forced his way through, and he lets Connie Nasland back through, and now he's making the move legitimately. So Luke Walsh, not only does he do the sporting thing and let Connie Nasland back through, but he then decides, right, I can't get through by pushing him out of the way, so I'll make a clean overtake instead. Nice work there from Luke Walsh, and if he can just hang on to things for the last 3 minutes of the race, it's a very well earned podium. It's always better when a driver notices they've done something wrong and tries to put it right. Luke Walsh has obviously done exactly that. So Connie Nasland is still not going to let him get away with 3rd place, though. This is obviously the highest battle on track that we've got, unless of course Bram has caught Henri Viroc right up again. I don't think he will have done, just because the gap between them was so big when we last saw them. Of course, all it could take, of course, is Viroc to make a mistake, and there is a mistake from Luke Walsh. He is absolutely desperate to hang on to 3rd position. He's worked so hard to get it back, and now he's under intense pressure. Connie Nasland and Jari Vanari is close to these two as well. He's just keeping a watching brief, saying, right, you two hit each other and I'll just snatch a 3rd place. Really intense battle for 3rd place, and with only 2 minutes left, you can see why. Nasland has got a championship lead he wants to defend, or certainly wants to take off Bram Hengeveld. He's not going to take the race win off him. Was looking good to lead the championship earlier on, and now he's having to fight to get back into 3rd place with Luke Walsh, the man who's looking to spoil the Swedes' party. Nasland again unable to beat into the braking point, and he very nearly plows into the back of Luke Walsh. Under braking, locks up the tyres, and Jari Vanari is looking at this, smiling. He can sense 3rd position could be his as long as he gets close. So once again, Nasland dives up the inside of Walsh. It's not going to happen there. He's going to have to work harder. 1 minute to go. Hang on a minute, that's a blue car slowing. I definitely saw one of the blue machines slowing. Fortunately, it's not Henri Viroc. I was starting to think, oh my goodness, have we got Henri Viroc in trouble on the last lap? Speaking of the last lap, I think we're about to go into that. Bram Hengeveld has done a brilliant job to close in on Henri Viroc. But if Henri can just hang on to things at the front, it's just too little too late as far as the battle for victory is concerned. Bram will still hold the championship lead by virtue of the fact that he won the first race of the season at Campo Grande, and he'll finish 2nd here at Jacarepaguá. So it's still looking good as far as the championship is concerned for Bram Hengeveld. Consistency obviously better than making a banzai move. We're down to 10 seconds on the clock, and somebody's gone off onto the outside, one of the lower drivers in the field. I'm trying to see, that could possibly be Jonas Lex, possibly in car number 10. I'm not going to make any snap decisions as to who it was, as we've got the race winner about to take the checkered flag with the time now run out. So Henri Viroc has got Bram Hengeveld very close behind him, but fortunately he's only got 1 corner left to do. Although he's not going to find it easy to get through it. He's being held up by one of the daredevils. who's obviously in a battle all of his own, but that was a close one, and Henri Viroc takes the checkered flag for a brilliant victory across the line. He has taken a victory when it matters. Brilliant race for him, an absolutely perfect display. Bram Hengeveld comes home in second. Nice work. Now the battle for third position, Nasland or Walsh. Who is it that crosses the line? It's Walsh who comes home in third. Where is Nasland? Nasland is down in fourth position, so Nasland ended up a long way back in the end, with Vanari coming home in fifth. Sixth position over the line. It looks like it's going to be Reto Christiani, although Swart is going to give it absolutely everything going into the final corner, and there's contact! But Christiani is not going to be denied. Brilliant work from Reto Christiani. In my view, one of the drives of the race. He crosses the line in sixth position, well deserved. And so it's Webber who ends up in seventh place, not Swart, who ends up down in eighth. So once again, the tables turn for the Daredevils team, and it's Swart who makes the error. And Scott Webber is the one who was challenging Reto Christiani all the way to the finish line. So, across the line in 8th position then comes Kieran Swart, and the final 2 positions in the top 10 seem to be decided, and it's going to be Rico Arnold who comes home in 9th place. And again, another quiet race for him, but at the end of the day, to finish in the top 10, first you must finish. So, a good performance then from Rico Arnold, and in 10th position could be Jonas Lex, but he's in some form of trouble. He's obviously pushed it too hard, going off the first corner. He's in trouble. I'm not sure he's going to be able to get that car going again, but fortunately everybody else appears to have been lapped up to 11th place. So Jonas Lex has been given a get out of jail free card for that one, and finishes up in 10th position. Well, what a brilliant second race of the season. A great win for Henri Viroc, a brilliant fight back from Bram Hengeveld, and a nice reputation save there, and a brilliant fight through the field from Reto Christiani. If that's what the racing is like in the Race Department Open Wheel Championship, I'm certainly hoping to be back for more. And a fantastic second race of the season comes to an end in great style. Thanks very much for being with us. We'll give you highlights and obviously full race results as soon as everything has been sorted out. I've enjoyed commentating on it, hopefully as much as you've enjoyed listening to it. And we'll see you again for the next race of the championship, which is the same time, in the same place, next Saturday night. I'm Jake Sanson. Thanks very much.